Welcome to the Long Distance Pizza Party Podcast with your hosts Nathan, Crad, Strange, and Silly, where we talk about podcasts, pizza, politics, and something else. We'll figure it out. Actual recording is higher quality. That's a total load of bull, and you know it. Ridiculous. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Long Distance Pizza Party Podcast, episode 21. It doesn't. Well, you guys missed us trying to get ready because everything was working perfectly before Crad joined the call. And then I couldn't hear anything or see anything because I bumped one thing. I don't know. Word of advice, if you have too many stuff to plug in your computer, maybe that's a problem. Maybe you just need to get a better computer. I am still working on getting a better computer. It's whenever my brother has free time to get all the stuff put together.
I guarantee you one thing, we're not going to be endorsed by that electronic company anytime soon.
It is extreme.
That
That
was
is
extremely
the brand.
annoying. That's what it was. It was extremely annoying. It did not
To be
work.
fair, it was only $10 on Amazon, so that probably
There you go.
explains something.
That explains a lot right
that
there.
explains everything. Speaking of technical difficulties, you might experience these while you're at church, which is what we're talking about. Is like church stories and like church pet peeves, which is actually like a combo subject that our host Strange, or one of our hosts Strange, also put in, but he's not here because the internet isn't working. So that should
have just having problems left, right, center.
It should have been like a sign. It should have been, because we were supposed to, actually, we're also recording on a Sunday, which we don't usually do. We usually do on Fridays, but we were like, hey, let's have everyone here. Psych.
That was the goal.
Yeah. Psych. It's okay. It happens. And then my brother was supposed to be here, and then he's with his girlfriend or something like that, you know.
Yeah, because what would you rather do? Hang out with a couple dudes or your girlfriend? Man, he totally missed out. I'm telling you, he's missing out.
I know. But while we're at the top of the episode, do please go check out God First Geek Second, Discord chat, where we see all of us chatting there with a bunch of other people. I was talking with someone about open faced pizza or sandwiches, and is that pizza technically? Whole conversation. But yeah, what is, like, I guess we've touched on this briefly. Church backgrounds, I think we've touched on briefly. That'll help inform, I guess, some of this episode. I grew up in and still attend a Pentecostal church.
New York Pentecostal? No.
I am from
Pentecostal church.
I do have a lot of family from the East Coast, so it's probably informing a little bit of it. Still at that same church, been there for, we moved here when I was 4, so I've been there almost 20 years, which is crazy to think about. And I help with our kids church. Actually, next week I'm supposed to be doing some kid rally or something like that. I'm supposed to be helping out with. It's in Indy. That's where I'm supposed. So I still don't know what I'm doing. So we'll find out. And then of course, we have our young adult group that I am part of, and was late to this morning. So yay me.
I too has been raised Pentecostal my entire life. My dad is an ordained minister. Has been for over 40 years, which is longer than I've been alive. But so I come from that background as well. And of course, with the Pentecostal background, you see all sorts of fun shenanigans and stories, and whether spiritual or not, that happen in church. And so I guess we will kick this off, or I will kick this off with a couple of my favorites. One being, and this is no, I want you to hear me right here and say this. This is no disrespect to Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons.
Oh no.
He's already laughing. He knows it's going to be good. This is no disrespect to Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons, but as you know, and I'll actually give them props, particularly Jehovah's Witnesses, they are probably some of the most dedicated people that go out and share what they believe
Oh yeah.
than a lot of other denominations and a lot of other religious groups. So I got to give him props on that. We actually probably need to be more like that in our faith. So serious note before I get to the funny part.
Especially the
So,
Pentecostals. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So being a preacher's and pastor's kid, we had a couple of, I can't remember if it was Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses come to our door one day at the parsonage, which for those who are listening or watching and not familiar with a parsonage is, that's normally where the pastor of a church is housed, um, oftentimes provided by the church. So we had a parsonage. That's where we lived. And so they showed up, and somehow my dad convinced these two poor, unsuspecting gentlemen to come to a Pentecostal service,
Oh no.
which, for those of you that know anything about being Pentecostal, it is about as far probably from a Jehovah's Witness experience, maybe outside of Catholicism, that you're going to get. And
Yes.
so to see the look of these two poor individuals that came to a Pentecostal service and saw all the wonderful things that's a trademark of Pentecostal service, including hand raising and shouting and speaking in tongues. I don't remember if anybody ran that particular service or not, but let's just say that those two gentlemen never came back again. And so
That's hilarious.
that is one of the ways I have. Apparently, one of the ways to get rid of a Jehovah's Witness is not to be rude. Just invite them to your church, and if they're astonished as these guys, poor gentlemen, were, they're not coming back again. So that's a good
That's
one.
funny. It's like, or just do what my dad did and just talk to them for like an hour
Mhm.
on our porch, and we've never seen a Jehovah's Witness again.
Now my dad after retiring from pastoring did that as well. Matter of fact, the conversation got so good. I don't know where the tape is, but the conversation got so good that I went and grabbed a tape recorder and I
That's
stood
awesome.
beside of him with a tape
That's
recorder
awesome.
down by my waist, and I hit record because it was just so precious
That's
that these
awesome.
two that these two guys was going to tell my hardcore Pentecostal father that's been a minister over for 40 years and tried to get him to come to a Jehovah's Witness church and tried to speak theology with him. It was quite amusing. Um, I feel sorry for those guys because they were way outnumbered, even though it was 2-1, so to speak.
That's
But
awesome.
that's pretty good. Um, the other thing, another funny story I have was, of course, being just a preacher's kid of any denomination, of course, you see a lot of things, a lot of background stuff that people in church don't see. Because obviously you live with the pastor is called upon to do a lot of different things,
Right.
some stuff that is different that you may not think. You think a pastor he just comes to church and preaches or whatever, but there's a lot more involved. There's visitation to the sick and needy. There's going out to doing funerals, weddings, whatever. Well, we used to have this particular woman. I don't know if she's alive today, so if she happens to hear this podcast, I'm
If
not
she
going
knows
to.
what the internet is,
Yeah, if she knows what the internet is, I'm not going to name the name on the off chance that she hears this, but she used to come to our house, and bless her heart, it's going to be good when you say bless her heart. For that's like the Southern church cuss word, bless her heart. Um, Bless her heart, she used to come to our house, and she would just complain and complain about our problems, her aches, and her issues, and everything else in the world. And one time, my dad looked at her and, with all sincerity, said, "Sit down. If you're that bad off, I'm going to call you an ambulance right now, and we're going to take you to the hospital." And needless to say, after that day, she didn't complain nearly as much coming to my
that's
house
funny.
because my dad kind of had enough of it. Because I mean, there's some people that really need help,
Yeah.
legitimately, but then there's some people that just will try to come and take advantage of you, and you just kind of watch, who those people are and kind of what they're doing. Third story, because I'm going to turn it over to you, because I'm sure you got wonderful ones
Oh,
too,
I'm
being
sure.
involved in ministry and stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
third story from me. Well, I got more than three, but another thing that happened is, again, if you're Pentecostal, this is nothing not familiar to you, but if you have a really good Holy Ghost service, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
People are
they'll go a long time.
Oh well, yeah, they'll go a long time. Number one, but you will see things
Oh yeah.
that the human body generally you don't think is capable of doing.
You think a
Uh,
possession's going on. Well,
yeah, well, it's very nerve wracking for
yeah.
somebody that's not been raised in it. I've seen some interesting things. I've seen somebody run the pews, and what I mean by that is I don't mean they ran around the pews, they ran in between the pews. I mean they ran on top of the pews. Uh, they got so
Nice.
yeah, they got so excited in the Holy Ghost were upon them. So that's pretty cool.
So
Um,
does your church still have pews?
yes. Well,
Because mine doesn't. Mine
one of the
doesn't. We
ones,
got rid of
good.
ours, so we got rid of
One of the
ours.
ones I attend still has pews. Yes, I
Nice.
I kind of go different places. I'm still
I
connected.
gotcha. I
Where I
gotcha.
moved and got married last year, I kind of have moved, so I visit one that has pews, and then I don't. But the one my dad, the last one he pastored back in the late '90s, had wooden pews. Didn't have no cushion, nothing. I'm talking about straight
Solid wood.
solid wooden
Nice.
pews. It's like the old school pews. And I remember one time, Dad got, he was getting in the spirit, carrying on, everything else. And he fell out in the power of the Holy Ghost and smacked his head. Absolutely just rammed his head, back of his head on a pew. I mean,
Nice.
I'm talking bam.
And
And
those have really round edges. Depending which pew you have, could
right,
have
right.
very
It
round
has round
edges.
edges, right. And so I thought, dear Lord, he's dead, because I was still a kid at this time.
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
dad retired pastoring when I was only 11 years old, so I was still pretty young. And wouldn't you know it, that God protected him and he had no problems. Now that
It's
might explain
crazy.
some of his behavior issues today, but no, I'm just kidding. No,
That's
he's a
funny.
he's a good man. So I've seen a little bit of everything with that. Now, one thing I'm glad I've never seen, at least experienced in person, which I have told my wife this. I want to go to a snake handling church at least one time in my life.
A what?
A snake handling church. I live Where I live, I can probably get to a snake handling church within about an hour, hour and a half, somewhere in there.
You
And
live in
so
Virginia, right?
I do.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yes, I live in Virginia, but I live close enough to the West Virginia, um, that I think I could probably get to one within a reasonable amount of time. And my wife, who's currently off camera, is whispering to me, "You're going by yourself if you go to one." But she's tell she's telling me that right now. She's like, if you're going to have faith, you're going to have it by yourself. But I just want to kind of experience that, because people like that, they take the scriptures about taking up the serpent and drinking any deadly thing a little bit too seriously. But I would be curious to see what that would look like.
That's
So,
funny.
but yeah,
You
thankfully I've
said
never. Go ahead.
you said snake, and it made me think of. So I do our help with our kid ministry, and I don't remember what our lesson was, but there's a couple in our church, them and their kids. They take care of a lot of different animals, like animal care, pet care, stuff like that,
Hmm.
and they have snakes. And they brought one into kids' church,
Ooh.
and my dad comes over. Had to be after service. For some reason, he came over. He just goes, dads do after church. They go to the car, wait for the wife to get there because they're gonna keep talking, as you do. Whatever that always happens. And for some reason, he came over. I don't remember why he was over there. I don't know if he was helping out or had to grab something. I don't know if we had some. I don't know. He cooked breakfast for the kids that morning. That's what it was. He cooked breakfast for the kids. That's something we don't really have like a breakfast thing for the kids, but like my mom thought it'd be a good idea, and my dad's
As
like, "Yeah,
moms
that's
do.
fine." Yeah, my dad would rather do that stuff. That to him, that's his ministry serving. That's like his whole like his viewpoint of ministry, and
Hmm.
the guy just puts it around his neck.
Mm.
Now my dad is a very calm person in most scenarios.
In most
He is very
scenarios.
he is very calm here, but I'm like I can imagine him just running. He was totally calm with it. He knew nothing's gonna happen, but like I just thought of that. I was like, that's very funny. And another again, kid ministry, because you work with kids, stuff's gonna happen.
Right.
You can't stop it. You it and this I kind of already brought this up. So Easter, this past Easter Sunday, it was my week to be over there. Now I'd been there all month because the people that we alternate through, of course, stuff happens, traveling, all that, blah blah blah. So I've been over there all month. And, Easter Sunday, there are people that usually don't come to church that'll be there, like, oh, it's Easter
All right.
Sunday, gotta go to church, blah, blah, blah.
Call them the Easter and Christmas people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we got a new family. They're there, 2 sisters and a little boy. And the parents, when they brought them over, I signed that we have like a checklist, sign the kids in, write their names down, keep track, how many kids we have. We had like 25 kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was madness. And of course it's Easter because they're hyped up on sugar. Chaos ensued.
Oh yeah.
The parents told us, "Hey, he is autistic." I'm like,
oh no.
That's fine. We have a autistic boy in our group.
All right. Nothing wrong with
that. I know how to handle it. If he
right.
gets a little out of hand, I'll take him over to the side. He'll sit with me because I usually
thought you knew how to handle it. Right.
Yeah, well, I usually sit during when we're doing everything. If I'm not leading some activity near the soundboard that we have for our old sound system and everything over there in our ministry center, and he continues to get rowdy. I'm trying to corral him. That's essentially my job for the morning. Mm-hmm. He then takes his shirt off and starts running around, as young boys do, because they think that's cool. I don't know why, but I was able to get his shirt back on. I told him, "Hey, let's sit down." That lasted maybe 5 minutes. And we're doing some activity. He gets a little too much. So, and then we hadn't done a bathroom break yet. We were about to go do one. I see him bolt for the door. Now we have a security team, and we have a security person that stays over there with us because it's not adjacent to the actual church building. And for some reason, the door wasn't locked. We generally lock the door. One, to keep the kids from trying to get out, because we do have a couple kids that try to bolt as soon as church is over. They try to bolt, but they're not supposed to. He gets out the door and starts peeing on the yard. And I'm just like, oh. And thankfully, my friend who was doing security had already started grabbing him before he started doing this, so he's already going. I hear his sisters behind me. He's so embarrassing. And in my head, I'm just like, it could have been way worse. Because we were about to go next door to watch some of our kids. They're doing some dance for Easter Sunday. I'm like, this could have been way worse. He could have done it on the carpet in the main service. My pastor would have gone catatonic if he saw that. My mom's like, "Yeah, you should tell pastor." I'm like, "I'm not telling pastor that."
That's funny, man.
He's gonna be over there like spraying it, trying to get it to come back or something. I was like,
"Oh my goodness!"
Never saw that family again.
Wow, that's a good one, man. That's a good one.
I was like, the bad thing is, I have several kid peeing stories, and I shouldn't, because I also help with kids camp, like the state kids camp that we have.
Oh my goodness, man!
With my church. And this last year, I had a particularly rowdy group of boys. Of course, you put like 15 boys in a cabin together.
Of course. Again,
yeah, stuff happens.
Crap happens. Yeah, crap happens. Yeah.
And I don't know what we were doing, but I was taking care of some other kid. I think he had to be from my church. It was probably one of my boys from my church that was there. And my co-counselor were trying to figure out what's going on. I think someone said something. Someone got beat up, blah, blah, whatever. Boys are boys. And I told the boys, "Hey, let's clean up the cabin." Because, we got points for if we got clean or dirty cabin. Or, well, we got no points and points deducted for dirty cabin.
All right.
And
makes sense.
Yeah, I kept hearing like running water, and it was raining outside. So in my head, I'm just like, oh, it's just a pipe or something.
All right.
Whatever. There's a bathroom in the building, like near me. So I'm like, oh, some kid's in the bathroom. He was just not in the bathroom.
Oh,
he was peeing down the drain in the middle of the cabin. And I start seeing it, and I don't know how to react. Because I don't know. Do I act angry in front of 15 boys? Or do I act really calm in front of 15 boys?
Oh, no.
And one of my boys that went to my church, he goes, Mr. Nathan? Like that.
Mr. Nathan?
He's peeing in the drain. I was like, I could tell. I'm like, and I looked at the kid. And I'm like, so what led you to, like, pee in the drain? Like, what was your thought process here? He's like, well, you weren't listening to me. I was like, I have 15 plus kids I'm trying to watch here. Like, Like, go to the bathroom. There's a bathroom in the building and like across the road that we were in. I was like, what is your deal, dude? Kids.
Oh yeah, gotta love them.
If you want kids or want to know if you want kids, go work kids camp because then you will learn.
Hey, Mr.
Like,
Nathan.
uh,
There's a
I,
kid peeing in the drain, Mr. Nathan. So I got a
uh,
good one. I got a
okay.
good one. So kind of in the same vein as kids camp, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went to one camp growing up, and it was back, uh, way back in the day, back all the way back in the land 2007. I know it's a long time ago now, but yeah, it is crazy to me. It's coming up on it's 17 years ago now. That's like
Yeah,
insane
that's
to me to say
crazy.
that. That hurts me a little bit when I think about that. But 17 years ago, in a land far, far away. No, I went to a Assembly of God church camp, and so the people I went with, a couple of them in particular, uh, quite notorious at being pranksters.
Right.
Very, very notorious at being pranksters.
It's gonna
Still,
happen.
it's going to happen. Probably one of the better things that I witnessed, which is just freaking hilarious to me, was they managed to convince this poor kid from, I don't remember what church he was from, but he was of a foreign nationality. That's all I'm going to say.
Gotcha.
Um, he was a foreign nationality, and he managed to convince this kid because every night they would have a church service essentially, with a speaker, worship, all that stuff at this camp, which is awesome. It's really good, like some of the best praise and worship. Like I received the whole gift of the Holy Ghost at that church camp, forever be transformed because of it.
Right.
But one night in particular, they convinced this poor foreign national kid to get up in front of everybody before church started and get on the microphone and tell every one of those girls to get back in the kitchen. And the way he said it with his accent, he was like, "Hey girls, get back in the kitchen." Like or
That's
make me he just said get back in the kitchen or make me a sandwich or something like that.
See, this is why wireless mics are amazing because you can keep them away from the kids.
Right, right, right. So that was probably one of my most fond memories of camp that still sticks with me
That's
17 years
awesome.
later was they convinced this poor kid to get up
That's
there
awesome.
to do this in front of everybody so they wouldn't get in trouble. They had someone else do their dirty work for them.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, let's see. What was the other thing? Oh, back to snakes for a second.
Oh
So I have a
no.
snake story. Which is not within the church. Well, it's within the church, but not within a church my dad pastored. So, I believe you mentioned you were Church of God at one point, right? Yes.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you all have camp meeting every year, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was like, did I? Yes, we do. But
Okay. Uh,
I think there's one coming up because I keep hearing announcements about it or something like that.
yes, there should be. It's generally camp meeting season now. So growing up, being a pastor's kid, that we went to camp meeting like every year. That was like our vacation, essentially. Every year we go to camp meeting, which
Nice.
was cool because, had a chance to go to see a bunch of people I don't see but once a year, of other churches and all that stuff. But growing up, my dad would always be an usher at the camp meeting. I got two stories for you actually off that. My dad would always be an usher at camp meeting, and so they were in charge of uh, taking up the offering, just different whatever they needed to be done. Basically, they were helpers, which is what ushers are.
Yeah.
And so one particular camp meeting, somehow a big snake had gotten into because this was an open air tabernacle. First of all, let me tell you that.
So
Like,
anything's gonna get in.
oh yeah, old school open air tabernacle, got woods in the back of it, so anything can crawl up in there anytime. So somehow a snake had got into the usher's room. I'm talking about a big snake.
Nice.
Not a little snake,
Not
big
a
snake.
garter snake.
No, not a garter
Just
snake. I'm talking about a pretty big snake. And so he directs my brother. I have two brothers. He directs my brother to go to the car, and for whatever reason, my dad in the back of the car was carrying a machete. And so he directs my brother to go grab his machete. And so he has to be, you got to think, there are people coming for church at this point. Have no
maybe
idea.
maybe have never been to church before and
Yeah,
they just see
ever
us on.
before, visitors coming in. And so they
That's
have no
awesome.
idea all this drama is going down. And so he directs my brother to go get his machete from the back of the car and to bring it to him on the side. Because you got to think the way the layout was, you have all these chairs, like hundreds of
Right.
folding chairs, right? You have the back, hundreds of folding chairs. Here's the stage. The usher area with the door is on this side, and like a VIP area, whatever, is on this side. And so my brother has to go grab his machete, somehow make his way back into the tabernacle in front of all these people, make it into the usher room without causing commotion. My dad, he managed to do it. My dad ends up killing the snake with the machete, and he wheels it out on a cart,
Nice.
like in the middle of all this, like cool as a cucumber. All this church stuff is going on, and my dad's over here hacking a snake with a machete. So
That's
that's freaking
awesome.
hilarious. Second funny story. Um, Sometimes you're probably familiar with this. You've been on church long enough. Sometimes you may invite somebody to come in as a guest and give a testimony, that kind of thing.
Right.
Some speaker or whatever. That's not unfamiliar. So, another camp meeting story. My dad, being an usher again this year. Well, he did not know it, but for the day's events, they were inviting a Christian motorcycle gang to come
Nice.
and give their testimony. So imagine my dad's horror when a group of about 10 to 20 bikers come rolling up on an open air tabernacle church. And my dad was in the military. Let me preface
Right.
that. My dad was in Vietnam, so he's seen some things. Okay. So you can imagine his horror when this group of bikers start rolling up into the campground and they start making their way up from the back onto the platform. This freaks my dad out bad because he thought, like, we getting ready to have a gang fight right here in the middle of this church
Right.
service. We're getting ready, because so it's hilarious to hear him tell that he was thought these bikers were coming to cause trouble, but it turns out they were actually invited guests to come
That's
to
awesome.
come give the
That's
testimony. So that's
awesome.
that's another couple. That's another good story
That's
that happened at
funny.
camp meeting. Another thing.
I
Go
I
ahead.
try to think at our church we have guests. I can't think of like anything big happened, but you mentioned open air tabernacle.
Yeah.
So again, kids camp. Occasionally, because for some reason, Church of God in Indiana, we don't have our own campsite. For some
Hmm.
reason, I don't know why. I I think they tried changing it because, of course, Indiana kind of looks small. It's kind of big though, once if you actually look at it.
Hmm.
So you got to find somewhere where it's easy for everyone to travel to, like middle ground. Like the one this year, I have to drive 3 hours to. Thankfully, I'm driving with like 6 other people from my church to help out. Thankfully, cause I could not drive by myself. I would lose my mind trying to drive that. I get to Indy, I'm about done, which is about like an hour and a half ish for me. But at this specific campground, there was an open air tabernacle. Now I had one specific kid this for the whole week. I wouldn't say he had an attitude problem. I'd say more of he just had problems with certain things because anytime he got really upset about some game that he lost.
Hmm.
So then for the entire week, he was upset about any game we played. And at being kids camp, all you're playing is games. It's game time all time.
Right.
So he would lose it every time someone said game. Like full on hysterical run away. And we're in the service, and the past speaker, one of the pastors from one of the churches, he's like he'd like to do a game before he do his lesson, get the kids, paying attention. It went with the lesson, and I
Oh
was
boy.
not I was not thinking. I was like, he'll be fine. He has calmed down. I've had a conversation with him. I'm doing great. Best counselor ever. That's where my head was. He says game. I see the kid get up, throw his chair, and run out.
Oh
Again,
no.
open air tabernacle area. There is a field. So I am now running in through a field. Not really. It's like a short, like grassy field in front of a couple hundred people
Oh my
to
goodness.
catch this kid. Now, I am not the fastest runner, but gosh darn it, I ran pretty fast to catch that kid because that kid was fast. So then I have to calm him down and explain to people that went to go see what was going on, make sure everything was all right, what was going on. So I never got to enjoy service that week because I had to keep going after the kid.
Man.
I felt bad because there's kids that don't know church and get dragged along by like a parent, who wants to get in church and they're trying to get. Funny enough, I saw him the next year, totally different.
Really?
So maybe kids
Huh.
church did something for him. So,
God got a hold of it.
oh yeah, he was a good kid then. Until that moment, I was like, and I already signed up for next year. Sweet, like,
Wow.
yeah, kids, gotta love them.
Kids these days.
Oh, that reminded me. So again, technical difficulties in church. It happens. Doesn't have
Oh
much to
yeah.
prepare. The whole time we're doing kids church, it happens. We're sitting there. We're about to do praise and worship. Now we already have a technical issue with our projector screen. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's just the building, but it likes to tilt. Not the building, the projector.
Hmm.
So like our projector screen will get like lopsided, so we have to fix it. Of course, they get me a ladder. I have to shimmy up a ladder. I'm
All
about
right.
6 foot. I'm about 6'2". The ceiling's about maybe 10. Yeah, about 10 feet, maybe a little more. So I have to go get a ladder to mess with it. Get everything fixed. Everything's working. We tested everything. Everything is working perfectly. The lady that does our kids ministry, her son-in-law does our sound booth for anything for Vision Center and main service. He's one of the main guys. Great guy. But for some reason, we could not figure out why we're trying to do praise and worship, why we were hearing next door. We could hear praise and worship going on next door. And one of our boys, his mom does our praise and worship. And he
Okay.
keeps going, why can I hear my mom next door? And we're like, we don't know what's going on. Come to find out, we flipped to the wrong channel or had a different mic than we usually
Oh,
had. So it kept picking up next door.
that's funny.
So we were like, it was crystal clear, and we are like, maybe this is a sign from God. We're supposed to go next door this week. We could not figure it out. It took us like 20 minutes, and you have to corral a bunch of kids while we're doing this. We're like, because we couldn't use the mics, any
Wow.
of them, because they kept like we couldn't. Never found out why it was doing it.
That's funny.
That's it was
Trying to think if
great.
I'm trying to think if I've got any good technical difficulty type stories.
So I do have a church question. So we
Yeah.
touched on the whole pews
Hmm.
about pews. Of course, my church doesn't have pews. My pastor made a decision of it's easier to do setup and takedown when it comes to like different ministries, weddings, blah blah, funerals, all that makes sense. We've lost
Yeah.
people we've lost people from the church because they got offended because we switched from pews to chairs. Like,
Kind of
I'm
sad.
sorry. Yeah, that's your hang up. Uh, do you guys have like a built-in baptismal, or do you have like one of the tear down take setup ones?
Okay. Well, that depends upon which church you're talking about. The one with the pews has no baptismal. We
Really?
actually, yeah. They go out and baptize in a creek.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like talking about old school.
We
Or
can't do
no,
that.
actually, it might be a river. One of the two.
Yeah, we can't
Either
do
way.
that here. I live near the Wabash River, so I really can't do that
Why?
because it's the Wabash River. It's known for like
Well, you afraid
being really
somebody's going to get in a
dirty.
Wabash cannonball?
No, no, it's more of they go and come out with another arm, just or
Oh, so it's in
something.
fact it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
it's a bad river. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Actually, at my
Um,
church, we used to do in someone's swimming pool, like in-ground swimming pool,
that
and
works.
then they left the church. So then
No,
we
that
actually,
hurts. That hurts. That just keep showing up at their house. We need to use your pool.
yeah, it's a baptism time. We need
You're not gonna deny someone getting baptized, are you? Come on now. No, we didn't
yeah.
mean to bring our swimsuits. No, okay. No, the other church I go to more on the regular has one that they can roll out and baptize them. So they do that. They have one they can roll out. They don't have one built in. So,
Nice. Which I was gonna, because I really want my brother to be on here so he can give his side of this story.
oh, okay.
Again, baptismals. Again, someone in their swimming pool. in-ground swimming pool. Had the whole setup. We're doing baptismals and everything. Of course, they do in the shallow end because it makes sense. And my brother just pushes me in on the deep end, shoves me in. And my mom's like, why are you throwing your brother in the pool? You're being a distraction. Everyone's watching now.
All right.
Like, there's like, I don't know how many people were there. And then I get out, of course, I get out and everything, dry off. My pastor goes, so anyone else want baptized? And I just go, well, I'm already wet. Can't get any wetter. I mean, just,
Dunk me one more
that's,
time. No.
yeah. So my mom always tells that story. She warns people about baptismals because my brother thinks he's funny, in front of like a couple hundred people. I don't know why he would do something like that, but that's my brother. That's one of my brothers in a nutshell.
I have a slight baptism story for you. Of course, my dad, pastor. We already established that. And so the first time I was baptized by my dad, but it was in a bathtub
Nice.
at our parsonage. And so I was really, again, young. And so I decided to be baptized again in the river, which I talked about. Or it was either, I can't remember if it's a river or creek. Either way, I decided to be baptized again. And when my dad asked me why, I used the wrong phrasing. What I told
Oh
my
no.
dad was I wanted to be baptized by a real preacher. I didn't mean to say that.
So
What
how long were you grounded after that?
no, what I meant to say was I wanted to be baptized in in more of I guess an official way. I mean, you can be baptized in the bathtub. Heck, I've seen stories of people getting baptized on their deathbed, using
Right.
a rag or whatever.
Right.
But I used the wrong words being young, and so now my dad never lets me live that down. Like every time he
Nice.
tells that story, yeah, my son said he wanted to be baptized by a real preacher.
That's funny.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That's
So
that's
that
funny.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to like scratch my brain about technical stories because I should have like plenty of them because I've run audio and video for multiple church services.
I've only had to do it once.
Yeah, I've done
Again,
multiple services.
again, thanks to I have three brothers.
Mm,
So again, being in my parents being in ministry, my mom always she does our girls ministry, like our younger
mm,
girls ministry, and my dad, he prefers when it comes to ministry, he'd rather serve. So he's kind of like
mm.
the mechanic of the church. So if you
Okay.
if you have a car issue, if he's not there, they ask me, like, hey, can you ask your dad? I need my dad's like, he's like, yeah, here's the day I'm free. Come over to the house, you know, pull in the driveway. I'll help you out. I'll work on it for you. But we've had the pastor's car in our driveway a couple times. I've entertained putting glitter in his car because he hates glitter. Like that's the thing he hates. But he'll know it's us, and there'll be a message next week.
Wow.
But my brother under me, Sam, did our sound booth. He volunteered sound booth, of course, being ministry. So everyone being ministry, they see, oh, you have four boys, they can help out with stuff. You're a one man usher crew. Happens. And my brother, at one point, he got a girlfriend, and he started going to her church.
Okay.
Now, my brother isn't great about communicating with people.
Shocker.
Apparently both my brothers aren't.
Right. Right.
Odd. So then they're
Go
like,
figure.
we couldn't figure out why he wasn't there. He really didn't say anything to us either. So we just assumed because we knew he went to his girlfriend's church, but we thought he would say something to someone. He has people's phone numbers. You think he would say something to anyone?
You
He
think so?
doesn't. So then, like, my pastor goes, "Hey, you know how to work sound booth? How about you do it?" Now I do not know how to do sound booth. I have never been in that sound booth before that point. I have worked the power slides for kids' church, which is very different because I'm not running a microphone or anything in front of like couple hundred people. Thankfully, nothing
Right.
happened. It was not my fault because he forgot to put. He kept. He kept adding verses to his lesson, so I had to keep like looking at. I'd like punch it in the things like it'll pop up. I'm like Proverbs 23:5, and then I'm like that's my pastor. Like he had a 17-point sermon one week.
Wow.
Now
That's
he didn't
crazy.
do 17 points in a sermon. He probably would have, but he didn't because my pastor is very long winded.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. Don't ask me to do technical stuff. We've already learned where it's gonna go.
It's
That's
funny.
yeah. Also, technical issues. Again, kids camp. You gotta entertain kids, and stuff happens. Like every year, it rains the first night of camp, so you'd think you would have backups of stuff to do. You know, when it's pouring rain in Indiana, our summer, you could just have a monsoon outside. Like it's ridiculous. Of course, it does this one night. So like, hey, we'll play a movie for the kids.
Hmm.
We had to wait 45 minutes for it to buffer for the movie to load because we're in the middle of nowhere. Like the nearest hospital we were at was an hour and a half away.
Hmm.
The only reason we learned this because some girl got appendicitis. So at camp, so I was like, "Oh, this could be that kind of week." All right, it's okay. They got the counselor's Chick-fil-A for thank you, and I decided to eat it in front of the kids, in front of a couple hundred kids, because I didn't hear the part of hey, go to the counselors go to the canteen area. The crew will watch the kids.
Hmm.
I didn't hear that part, so I just sit down. I got Chick-fil-A, and kids are like, "Why do you have Chick-fil-A? Where's our Chick-fil-A?" And one of our guys is like, "What are you doing over here? Like, you're not supposed to be over here." And I just make like the witty joke of, "Well, I'm just lording my superiority over the kids, you know." And he's like, "Get over there." And of course, it's pouring rain, so I had to walk in pouring rain with my soggy Chick-fil-A. At that point,
Wow.
I kind of earned that, but kids.
So, flipping the script just for a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes, if that's all right. We've
Oh no,
told a
you're
lot of
fine.
stories. Told a lot of stories here,
Oh yeah, no,
but
you're good.
let's go into a bit of a serious moment here. What do you
Let's
think?
bring it
Because
down. Let's bring it
yeah, let's
down.
break it down. You know, if you got the lights, bring them down low. Grab you a cup of tea and let's hold on for a second. Um, what do you think? Because you know you've been around church all your life. I've
Mm-hmm.
been around church all my life. What do you think it takes to be a good, successful church?
I think you have to have a very inviting spirit. Um, you have to I don't want to say offer many ministries, but you have to offer the core ministries. You have to have your main ministry, a kid ministry, um, a youth ministry. Preferably, you should have a young adult ministry. There are certain, if you have people that bring out a volunteer, if they're led, especially in my town. In my town, we have a lot of different drugs. For a while, we had a dominion over addiction ministry,
Mm,
and the couple that had it, they left the church for no like bad reasons. Like they just, I think they
right.
moved. I think they moved. I think that's what it was. So of course we don't have one right now, and there are other ministries that pop up. Like we have ministry for our ladies. For because like the ladies they can get together, have stuff. The guys have stuff. Thankfully, there is a couple in our church. They started doing a young adult group, which is always interesting and fun. Because there are so many people coming into church, all different ages, sexes, ethnicities. So you have to a way try to get more people and to keep people have stuff to start. Funny because my pastor was talking about unity today in
Mm,
service. In order to have unity, you have to have everyone essentially in like a same mindset, same spirit. So if you are able to help people grow by having these different ministries, and also just pouring into your pastor too, like let him have a vacation.
okay. All right. Now I'll ask you a flip side question on that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the church of today is missing? What can we improve?
Especially in just the Pentecostal, I noticed just outreach because sometimes they'll focus so much in the church they aren't focusing outside of the church. Especially around my area, again, where I live, there is a lot of drugs. There's a lot of different stuff going on, but also my town's also like full of so many different people. Like my town's a college town,
Right.
so there's people that are coming from everywhere that are here. Like we have a pretty decent college, um, so it's like there's a bunch of those different people. I remember again my mom being in ministry in the summer. Of course, I wasn't, I was a kid, so I got kind of dragged everywhere by my mom, which didn't care. I was like, hey, I'm gonna do stuff with my mom. All right. We would just go to like the different projects that were near my church and talk with the kids. Like we rented a bounce house
Mm.
and got like a bunch of popsicles and stuff like that. Be like stuff like that. Like you do stuff like that, reach people outside your church that normally wouldn't go. Like they'll come. They'll be like, oh, these people are fun and they're kind of cool. They're not like the regular people I hang out with. Maybe we'll go see what they do on Sunday or Wednesday or
Right,
Thursday, depending on which church you go to, because some people have church on Thursday instead of Wednesday.
right. So you definitely, and I tend to agree with you here. Basically, you're saying there needs to be a healthy balance of
Mm-hmm.
ministering within inside the church and ministering outside the church.
Yes.
I agree with that. I agree with that, and
Yeah.
I think we kind of need to well, it's kind of like true of anything really. Unfortunately, we have the reputation, um, and unfortunately, well earned at times, that we want to be as a church kind of people that kind of close themselves off, do their own thing. It's us versus the whole world. If if you ain't if you ain't with us, you're against us. I think back in the day, the church was a common area where a lot of different type of people met. I think of almost back to you're familiar with the program. Maybe you've heard of Little House on the Prairie.
Yes.
Um, the church was a place where all these different people would come together, and they would, as one mind and one accord, and they would worship. Uh, and I think, unfortunately, we've kind of gotten away from seeing the church as a center of a community. That bonding place. And so I agree with you, Nathan, that we need to kind of to really do more to show people, hey, we're not just about telling you that if you don't follow Jesus, you're going to hell.
Right.
Which, while that is part of the message, big part of the message, if we don't love them to the Lord, then we're liable to lose them, basically. Um, Sometimes you have to take care of somebody's physical needs before you can address a spiritual need. And so I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Again, going to my dad, who would rather like he likes fixing cars, like that's a hobby he does. He's kind of made this point of I would rather fix someone's car and talk to them down to
Hmm.
earth than have them invite to church and then get preached down and never show up again.
Right, right,
That's kind of like a point he's made.
right,
Like there's been someone I've noticed he'll just it's not like he doesn't want to be there. It's more like someone needs the car fixed, he's gonna go fix it for him.
right,
And there are people that are in our church, and there are, of course, not everyone that goes into church is going to be there for the same reason. One
right,
Wednesday, their car might have broke down. Like, oh, right in front of a church. That's kind of strange. I'll go check the place out. Not saying this
right.
has actually happened to my dad or anything, but it's just like there are people that are at our church. Again, maybe they're new believers, and them talking to my dad versus the pastor, maybe they'll find like a different point. So I also think that's another thing. Like there are some people that media does not think popcorn does not help with this at any way of how the church is portrayed. I feel like the church is only portrayed in two ways. It's very staunch Southern Baptist, or it's like weird Catholic that the media only portrays the church as. But like no other in betweens. Like you never see in anything where it's like, oh, this family goes to a Pentecostal church or
All
like
right.
a non-denominational church or Lutheran church or anything. Like it's just odd, and of course that informs people on the church in a way. Um, some good, some bad interpretations, mostly bad interpretations, because they tend to view everyone like all church folk as kind of just like mindless idiots, like oblivious to everything going on. Which I can't disagree with that. There are some people I've seen at church that are just like oblivious to everything. Like they don't know
No,
what's going on outside the church walls. Like it's like
I
this
I
is
also think that some people tend to just bury their head in the sand.
there's that too.
That
Yeah.
they don't want to know what's going on out there, or
No.
they know, but they rather pretend that they don't.
No. 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 It's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, Going to church, there's always again people. Being a church, there's always some form of media playing at church to entertain people, especially if
Mhm.
you're in kid ministry or you're a kid at church. Like I'm sure you've witnessed this. Being the pastor's kid, you kind of get, or your dad's like, "Oh, I got to go do something for a little bit." Here, you're with another group of kids, uh, or even activities. Was there any like fun at church activity you like doing outside of church? Even like you've mentioned like the camp meeting,
Mhm.
and I've mentioned kids camp. But was there any other activities you liked going to in church?
Uh, well, when I was growing up in the churches my dad pastored, there wasn't a lot of
Mm-hmm.
youth necessarily. But I remember growing up, there were a couple of groups outside of my own church that we had pastors that were friends, or we knew of other church communities that we might would be a part of, or a big thing when my dad retired from pastoring and we became members of another church, they would have like homecoming, and homecoming was like really good food, really great service, and they normally have like after the food they would have a singing, and so we'd be there. It'd be almost like an all evening afternoon type of thing, where we do that. Or I was toward the latter part of my youth. I was a part of a youth group, and one of the first Christian concerts I ever went to was, and this is going to date me right here, is an FFH and For Him concert, which I don't know if you've even ever heard of those
I think
groups.
I've heard of For Him, but not
Yeah,
FFH.
FFH and For Him concert. So I remember doing that as a young person, and then also I would be a part of like on occasion I might would be part of a drama or
Nice.
a Christmas play. I narrated a Christmas play once. I remember doing that when I was younger. Um, I sang in one. Matter of fact, I can still remember part of the song. It was a Christmas song called "A New Kid in Town."
Nice.
Um, so stuff like that I enjoyed doing. Of course, I was big on Vacation Bible School. Big on Vacation Bible School. I mean,
Nice.
there were when I was growing up, I would almost hit the Vacation Bible School circuit. I mean, I would go to like
Do it
3 or 4 every summer. Like there would just be ones
nice.
I would just go to. Like I'd go to a Baptist church and go to their Vacation Bible School, or there might be our Vacation Bible School at our church, or I would hit up I would call it the Vacation Bible School circuit, and just go to like
Nice.
multiple ones every year.
Yeah.
So
My
that was kind of nice.
yeah, my church doesn't do vacation Bible school. They did at a point, but again, you have to have the people to want to do
Right.
it in order to do it. Instead of just like, hey, we're doing vacation Bible school, figure it out. You got like a week. Like, don't do
Yeah, that
that.
takes
Don't
some
do that.
planning. That takes some
No.
planning. If you do it right,
Yeah.
it does.
Oh yeah, no. But there's a church that it's like down the street from my house. I always went to that. They always had VBSs. They still do it. Like, and that
Right.
was the non denominational church, and they're great people. Like I have friends from there still. What was I gonna say? It's about VBS. Like they did legit. They made a market in their church. Like they kind of recreated like a market you'd hear about in the Bible. Like because that's how big the church was. Like you could do that. Like they would bake bread, like the church kitchen. Like they did this whole thing. I was like this is kind of cool. Can't do that in my church. My church is really small. Our kitchen's tiny. It's still
Hmm.
tiny, even after the renovation. It's still very tiny. Um, but yeah, I always got been in ministries. Did youth camp, then started working kids camp and all that. Did a couple concerts because of course you're in a youth group. They want to do like different stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you know what Winter Jam is.
Oh yeah. Been to Winter
So
Jam.
yeah, so at one point my pastor, his son did our youth ministry. Great guy, has his own church now. Pastors his own church now, like a town over. Great guy. He moved to Florida, came back with his whole family.
Nice.
We went to there, and his cousin was with us, and his wife, who now do our young adult group. This is actually where I first met them when they first started coming to our church. We're waiting in line. Of course, it's one time you want to get there early to get good seats because the previous
Hmm.
year we showed up later and didn't get very good seats. Funny because then a bunch of adults went the same year we went of this particular story and they didn't get good seats and they were expecting us to save them seats and that ain't happening. That ain't happening at concerts. There's no safe seatsies. It's not a
Just safe
thing.
CTs.
No. We get there, and the particular lineup had the band Red in it.
Oh yeah, I remember Red.
There was a protest going on outside against them.
Really?
Yeah, people had duct
Too
tape and everything.
hardcore
Like
for him, huh?
apparently, like they like duct tape and Bible verses and everything.
Wow.
Now I'm not very confrontational, especially at 15. I was not a very confrontational person. I mostly kept to myself. My pastor's son is like my pastor, and got confrontational with the protest. He started yelling at them. Not in a bad way. It wasn't like, but it was like they kept like legit. These protesters were like yelling at people as you were walking in the door. Like I don't know why no one escorted them out. Didn't happen. But my pastor started like saying like look at the log in your own eye. I don't know what church they went to
Hmm.
or if like, but it was really odd because it's funny because who else was there was like KB and Lecrae and like so you'd
All right.
think they'd go after them as well, but no, they
No.
specifically wanted to go after Red.
Hmm.
I don't know who else was there, but it's only like a couple I remembered because my pastor's son really is into hip hop and really wanted, like, he was excited to see KB and all of them. Didn't get to see them because he had to go backstage with all the other youth leaders that were in that concert to pray before the concert. So he actually got to
Wow.
miss that part because Lecrae and KB and all of them went up first.
So here comes a terrible joke. You ready?
Yes.
So you're saying they were seeing red?
Yes.
Ah,
They were. But
uh,
but yeah,
uh.
that's I love going to stuff like that. Like we try going to Burger King afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
and this is back in the day when food places would be open way later.
Mm-hmm.
Like this week, Burger King I think was open till midnight, and it was like 11 o'clock. Couldn't get in the building. They locked the
Cut out.
doors.
You cut out there for a second. Where'd you say you
Oh,
went?
we Burger King couldn't get in the
Oh,
building.
okay. Really?
They locked the doors on us. There's people inside, but they locked the doors on us. So we ended up going to Rallies,
There you go.
which wasn't that bad. Also got lost in the middle of Indy because I was driving with my pastor's son.
That's no
And
big deal.
we ended up in legit in the ghetto of Indianapolis.
There in the ghetto.
Like no, like it was legit, like not trying to be mean or joking. Like it was legit the ghettos. We were like, we took a wrong turn somewhere. Like I was
Wow.
like, this is sketchy as heck. His wife was in the other car. I don't know. She was better about, I guess, better at directions than he was. Like that's man, he's a good guy. I haven't talked to him in a while. He of course again he just moved back, but and he's leading his own church, so he's a little busy. He's got like 6 kids, so he's a little busy.
Yeah, I like it. I
Just a
like it.
little bit,
A little bit.
just a
A little
little
bit.
bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, dude. Oh, just people in church. I'm sure you have stories about. Again, you've told like about people in church complaining to your dad and everything. We had someone make a random phone call during Wednesday service, like on speakerphone. Like my associate pastor had to go up to him. He's like, "Hey, you need to turn that off, or you need to leave." Like, and I see this now doing security. What? I'm like, dude. I'm like, you're in church. Like, take it outside or something. Like, it's
Wow.
ridiculous.
So I got a couple more, and we can probably start wrapping up here in a
Oh
couple
yeah,
minutes. But real quickly. So again, Pentecostal church. Preface that we know that. So
right.
um, there was two ladies in my dad's last church that he pastored. One, unfortunately, has passed on to be with the Lord. So she definitely won't be listening. Unless they pick up the long distance pizza party podcast in heaven, which would be really long distance. But anyway,
Michael's playing it. He's
yeah,
got his
right
popcorn.
around the throne, he needs something else to do. But but this one lady, when she would get excited, she would, of course, one of the universal words for praise is hallelujah.
Right.
That's common. It's in every language. It's the same word, hallelujah. This lady, bless her heart, she's like said, she's gone to be with the Lord, as far as I know. She did not use the word hallelujah. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
she's a good old country lady, you know, country as can be. And when she'd get excited, she would rear back and say, hallelujah to you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
Nice.
to you, Jesus. And so that sticks in my mind. The other thing that was interesting to me growing up is um, being Pentecostal. You can attest to this too. You've seen people shout, all right,
Yes.
speak in tongues and shout. So there's this one woman. She's still alive, so I won't name her name, but she was my dad's Sunday school superintendent, or just superintendent actually, for a long time while we were at this church. While we were there, she handled the finances and everything. And she would get excited in the Holy Ghost, and she would start to scream. And as a little boy, that used to freak the absolute crap out of me. And so I knew that any time that the service was starting to get good, so to speak, I always had to stare at her, because if I didn't and she got excited, I was going to get the crap scared out of me every time, because she would just let out a blood curdling scream. I mean, it was one of those that put the hairs on your arms rising. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I knew that if this sister would get excited, or that the service was starting to look good, I knew I had to look at her, because if I did not look at her and she started to scream, it was going to scare the crap out
That's awesome. That's
of
funny. Again, people like in church. So again, we have our young adult group, and they'd always, for some reason, well, they had a reason. They stuck us in wasn't the parsonage, but it was like, if I don't know if like church ever had like a separate building for like people that stayed and visited, or like speakers,
me. Like evangelist quarters
something like that. Yeah,
type things. Yeah,
yeah.
I've
Well,
heard.
at this point, it was my pastor's wife's mother's house,
Okay,
who had at that point had passed away.
okay.
So the house was means of everything. So we decided to use it as our hangout area for on Wednesday nights when we'd have our young
Mm,
adult group. And of course, you invite people. And this particular Wednesday, we had a new couple come to the church. No one knew who they were. No one else knew. They just showed up. Totally fine. And I don't remember what we were talking about, but they started bringing up crystals. So for like 45 minutes, we had to hear them to all just talk about crystals for the entire night.
wow.
And like, you're trying to be nice as you can to them, but I could tell that the couple that did it, the husband, great guy, does not have a poker face. So I could see him trying to hold it back. And his wife's a little more serious. So she's trying to corral him. And I'm like, something's going to go down. Someone's going to say something stupid. Either it's me or him. It's going to say something we're going to regret. So I'm one other time. But I feel so bad for those people like that, because you want to actually have a conversation with them.
Yeah,
And like, he's like, hey, we don't believe in crystals like you do. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel really bad about those people.
yeah. I don't know, man. That's
Talk
funny.
talk about feeling bad. We can end it on this. Not
Okay.
really a church story, but it's in a church, because I went to, again, Baptist high school. Great, raised Pentecostal church. Just imagine this: raised Pentecostal church. Went to a Baptist high school, so I
Yeah,
had to bite my tongue a lot
yeah,
on
yeah.
certain things that were said.
Right.
Now, my school had a choir class, mandatory choir class.
Okay.
Out of the blue, one day we're there, she goes, "Yeah, we're going to talk about CCM music,"
Oh boy.
which, for those who don't know, is Christian contemporary music.
Yeah, yeah. Old school wave wavelength
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
CCM.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Now, I am 15, so I am like, what, fifth grade, sixth grade, something like
Hmm.
that, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
My school combined the grades, so like fifth and sixth would be together, seventh, and eighth, ninth, and 10th. 11th, 12th. Like, that's how they combine the grades. Because there was 50 people in the high school at my school.
Okay.
This At this particular point. And so this is when I really started getting into Christian rock
Oh boy.
and started getting into Christian metal. This is where it all started. And so she starts going through the list. She has like pictures. She's like, now, is this Christian contemporary or like Christian music? And I can name every single band she gave. She wanted us to write it down and put her name. And she's like, you don't have to put your name on it or anything.
Hmm.
Again, I put my name on it because I kind of wanted her to know. Because my parents told me when I started going to school, hey, They won't agree with everything you believe. Just be nice and respectful, and if they say anything, we'll have a conversation with them.
Wow.
Nothing happened, but I started grading it, and I started to look straight at me. And I was like, oh, great. This is how I get in trouble at school. Like, this is like the third week of school. This is how it starts. Great. Like, this is my second year here. This is amazing. Nothing happened. But then my senior year, she did the same exact thing. And
Wow.
I did the same exact thing. So
That's funny, man.
I was like, oh, this is how I get kicked out of a school. All right, let's go.
So is this Christian
Uh,
music or no?
yeah,
Man, that's crazy.
it was. She's a nice lady, but there's a couple times where this choir teacher would, I wouldn't say overstep, but got a little ridiculous.
Right.
Man,
Wow.
I don't dislike that school, but after I left, the school changed a lot after I graduated. So, which was great. I had to go pick up my brother from school after the
Mm-hmm.
year after I graduated because he had, of course, didn't have a driver's license, and my parents would be at work. So, of course, being in college, I had some free time in the evening, so I had to go pick him up. It was great because I would wear band shirts to class, so a lot of times I get out of class and go pick him up. So that was always interesting when I'd go pick him up. So I always had a button up shirt with me to put on when I walked in because occasionally I had to walk in the building because he would take forever trying to get outside. So
Just being the nice thing to do, right?
yeah, I didn't want to start anything in front of a bunch of other parents
That's funny.
and teachers who still very well knew me.
Wow.
So yeah, good times.
Sounds like it.
I don't know if that's another episode. School stories.
School story.
I actually don't have that many school stories because yeah, not a lot happened at my school. Also, I stayed to myself most of the time. So
Maybe we can get some other people in here and we
I
can talk
know
about
it's
things.
I
No, I was kidding.
know. I
No.
know.
We're gonna start
Jeez.
talking. We're gonna start turning this into the Nathan
Nathan
and
Crad
Crad
show.
podcast
I
instead of
know.
little distant
It's a
stupid
playlist at this
podcast.
point. It's a playlist at this point.
What is this, our
Which
third, fourth episode? Just usually
fourth. Which
fourth episode.
if you want to watch that whole playlist, go to YouTube. Long distance party on YouTube. Thank you for those who have subbed there. Also, thank you TikTok for not telling people that you change everything, all your stuff on there, because the whole browser thing is a whole total load of junk now. You can't really post there. It won't push it
Oh,
if you
that's not
post
cool.
if you post from the browser. I just found that out because I think we've had a discussion where I couldn't figure out why we weren't getting views on TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put them on my phone and did it that way, the clips,
Mm-hmm.
and those got a couple hundred views each. So I don't know what. Also, TikTok got rid of their editing tab.
Really?
When you're editing through your phone, they're telling you to use other apps.
Hmm.
Thanks, TikTok. You can follow us there at Pizza Party Pod and most other places for their stuff. We're also on Podbean now, which is actually really great. I would, if you do podcasts, get Podbean because legit I can link the YouTube channel to it, and as soon as I post something, it posts it everywhere else that I link it to. It's actually really helpful. It saves me so much time, especially when my internet decides to be weird. So,
Mm.
because stuff
Right.
happens.
Like all the time. No, just kidding.
Most of the time. Most of the time. Most of the time. So, you can find us other places at God First Geek Second Discord, where a bunch of others are posting stuff. You can find me at FT_Physics What do I have coming out this week? I don't remember. I don't have my Excel sheet in front of me, but I'm posting. I got stuff coming up very soon. New episodes will be out tomorrow. Oh, you can check out McDonald's has that new Grandma Sunday thing, which I've never seen posts for. I kind of didn't know it was happening until like I saw it on the app. So thanks McDonald's for promoting your product. Good job.
And also, check out next week. Nathan's going to start a new series about he tries new technology and epically fails.
Yeah, that's
No.
a thing. That's a thing. That's a thing that could happen. Strange and Silly aren't here, but you can find their links all down below. Silly has a YouTube channel and TikTok when he posts on it. Strange. I think he's taking a break and working on Kingdom Streamers. So please go check that out. They have a lot of fun. I put it on. I put the last episode when I was editing something else. So go check that out. Crad, where can they find you?
Here.
Yeah. Stay tuned for next week's episode. Maybe we'll have everyone.
Or a guest. You
We
never know
should.
now.
I never know. I never know.
It's
Maybe
a
my
potpourri.
brother. Maybe my brother will show up. He said he was going to be here, and then he's not. Like, it's not like Talon where he wanted to be here, but like he's really busy. Like he travels for work. It's harder for him to do stuff. Also, he was at a wedding this weekend, so like so was Silly.
Who knows?
So that's probably why.
Possibly. Yep.
But yeah, if this scared you away from church, we're sorry.
Or if it made you want to come.
Or you go to church, you're welcome. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, and whatever you do, eat pizza. Don't talk about politics. Love the Lord. And whatever you do, stay away from the cheeseburger pizza melt because I don't even know what that.
No, that's good. What are you talking about?
I don't know why they did that.
No, it's good. What are you talking? Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Follow us at TikTok at Pizza Party Pod. We also have a Discord chat, God First Geek Second. Links are all down below. You can also comment down below for a podcast idea using the hashtag podcast idea. Again, we appreciate you guys. Have a day.